Hello, everyone. Welcome to Field Notes. These are short reflections from my conversations, my work with shluchim. There are similar ideas, questions that come up again and again around fundraising, leadership, the inner work, the inner world behind the work. Um, and this is the first field note, and today's reflection is called, "Am I asking for too much?" So this question I find comes up a lot, especially when considering making a bold ask. And frankly, this is probably the biggest thing that holds a person back, anyone back from making a bigger ask. So I wanted to address this question from a few layers, starting with a more practical, basic answer, and going a little deeper. So the first layer is I had this conversation with Avi Rabin, interview in Wisdom from the Field a few months ago. Great conversation. And one of the ideas he shared was when you know your numbers, when you're clear on how much money your organization needs this year, for example, right? So if I know that I need $400,000, let's say, right, for the Mesa this year. So $20,000 might be a lot of money, but in the context of the larger context of what it costs and what it takes to run this Moisid, it's only one piece. 20,000, 50,000, 100,000, whatever the number is. When you put it in the context of the entire budget, it doesn't seem as big anymore. So this is for you, but also when you're speaking to donor, when you share the larger context of what it takes to run the Moisid, it makes a lot more sense, the number that you give, even though it sounds like a big number. So this is just a very basic and practical um, point, which I think is very important to start with. The next nukuda, the next layer is that in the question, am I asking for too much? There's a underlying assumption or underlying perspective, which is that asking is a form of pushing, of pressure. This may be a strong word, but a form of manipulation. And therefore, you know, a small ask maybe, but a big ask, that's too much, right? But what if we looked at an ask as an invitation? It's not an obligation, it's an invitation. Inviting someone, inviting a donor, potential donor to partner with us at this level, to make this difference in the world, right? So when we see an ask as an invitation, not an obligation, right? You're saying, would you like to partner with us? Would you like to be part of something meaningful? Would you like to make this possible? There's no pressure, it's an invitation. Now, there's another subtle layer here, which is I like to say it's exploring, not assuming, right? When you make an ask or a large ask from someone, you're not assuming that they can or can't, right? I feel like a big part of the hesitation is, how do I know that they can? Well, you're not assuming. You're not assuming that they can, they can't. You're not assuming that they want to or are ready to. You're exploring. What if your ask could be a form of exploration? Are you capable of this? Is this something that you are ready for? You're comfortable with, right? So again, when you remember, you're inviting, not obligating, and you are exploring. You're not assuming. And the third point is you are honoring their choice. You're not pushing them, like I said before. So really, I don't know if there is such a thing as an ask that's too big on the side of the asker, the fundraiser. On the side of the donor, there could be that it's too much. It's out of their capacity. Could be they're not ready or do want to give on that level. Yes, but on the side of your asking, again, when you're come from that place of inviting, exploring, and honoring the other person, there really isn't such a thing as an ask that is too big. That's number two. The third point I want to make is Um, and this is a deeper point, which is that money is always relative, right? Take, let's say, $20,000. Sounds like a lot of money, right? If I went shopping for clothes, let's say, and I spent $20,000, that would be ridiculous. A crazy amount of money doesn't make sense, at least in my hasagas. But if I went looking for a house and found a house for $20,000, that would be the biggest miracle, right? That would be like pennies. Yeah, even if I didn't have $20,000 available, I would get it together somehow and go for it, because really it's never about the money. It's about the context of what that money is for, right? Money is relative. So what are you getting for that? So when someone feels like asking for 20, 30, $50,000 sounds like, or 100, whatever the number is, but it sounds like too much. What's happening really is, on some level, I'm forgetting what the what I'm offering, right? So if we, I like this line a lot, slow down to speed up. If we take a moment to slow down to reflect, what is the difference that we're making, right? Being Mikad of one yid doing a mitzvah, right? Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, one mitzvah is a yichud nitzchi leilam va'ad l'mayla. There's an eternal yichud that happens to this mitzvah, right? Changing one life, changing the landscape, the spiritual landscape for a single family, for a community, for a city. So when we really reflect on the difference that we're making, the infinite difference, the money becomes trivial, right? The Alter Rebbe says in Perek Mem Ches Tanya that in relative to Ain't Safe, to infinity, 1 and 1 trillion is the same, right? So when we remember that the difference we're making, the value that we're offering is infinite, and for someone to have a part in this difference, to be Makar of another yid, to build a place for Eden and everything, etc., etc., etc. So when we remember the infinite value of what that is, and any money in the world, however big it seems, is really nothing, is really pennies compared to that value. And if we are honestly and really connected and vibrating with that, that will come across in our ask. That, yes, it's a question of what the person is capable of, what they're ready for. But in regards to value, what you're offering, any amount of money is small. And I think that's a really um, deep but important piece, when thinking about making a bold and a large ask. So to summarize, and this is my invitation to you, to think, what bold ask have you perhaps been avoiding? Who is a donor that you have not yet fully invited to partner with you in a real way? What is a number that you have held back from asking for? And when considering and thinking about those, remember these 3 points. What is number one? What is the larger context of the expenses of Chabad, what it costs of this meisid to run? Number two, I'm inviting, not obligating. I'm exploring, not assuming. I'm honoring, not pushing. And number three, that what we're offering is infinitely valuable. And if I could help a person see the value of it, um, any money is really small. And my hope is that with these 3 reflections, the question of, am I asking for too much, will really start to lose its grip. So I hope this was helpful. Um, Feel free to share your feedback. And this is today's note. Wishing you a wonderful rest of your day and tremendous atzlacha.